connection, restore, renew, reconnect, live, laugh, in love, connections, dream, getaway experiences. Brave Heart Workshops. Unique Getaways live with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show, Renew, Restore, and Reconnecting Community, sponsored by Braveheart Workshops live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today from Orlando, Florida is Amy Korn-Reavis. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on, and I'd love the audience to know a little bit about your background and who you are. Amy is a sought-after sleep expert and well-known speaker in the medical community. She has been hired by many companies to speak on topics related to sleep, wellness, and nutrition. Amy is a clinical sleep educator who has been working with individuals, students, and physicians for over 30 years. Some have called Amy the better sleep coach. Others have called Amy a total sleep geek. Amy is not ashamed. She is the happiest when she gets to speak with someone she has helped and when she finds out how well they're sleeping and how much their health has changed for the better. Amy is passionate about helping her clients eat, sleep, and live a healthy life. So what a nice bio, Amy, and it's such a pleasure to have you on our show. Thank you so much.
I appreciate giving the opportunity to talk to people about sleep. It's so important this time during these COVID times.
Yeah. So if you can, I'd love to ask people to take us on a journey of their life. So if you could journey throughout your life and be transparent with us if you feel, to share a little bit about your life and what led you into this profession of sleep study and helping others.
So I'm a registered respiratory therapist. It was my second career. I was out of school. I drove an ambulance to pay for school, and then I went to respiratory school. And I loved respiratory therapy. I loved everything about it. And I was working one night and I was a little burnt out, and we had a patient who had come in and he had been gored by a bull. And everybody was like, "Oh, this is so cool. You've got to see this." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." They're like, "Yeah, you're a little bit burnt out." And so they offered me a chance to go work in the sleep lab, and I took it. And I was getting trained. And 2 days after the gentleman who was training me, after I started, he quit. So they handed me a photocopy of a book and they said, "Good luck." So when you're given that situation, you can do one of two things. You can give up or you can start researching everything. And of course, this is before the internet was a big thing. And I started doing the research and really loved the science of sleep and and taught myself as much as I could learn. Got my registry in sleep technology, worked in the field. I've taught in the field. I've created continuing education courses. I've educated, I can't count how many people to become sleep techs, and then including my son. And then we started doing more education of patients one-on-one, and they developed a new test called the Clinical Sleep Educator. And I was like, okay, I'll take this test, figure, why not? And I took the test and passed it and thought, the one thing that our field is missing is some direct connection with the patients. Like, we talk to each other in the field, but we don't talk to the general public about sleep. And we weren't helping people who were struggling with their sleep. And we weren't helping people who were like on CPAPs and couldn't figure out how to use them. So I wrote a book called 30 Days to Make CPAP Your Friend. So if you look up, you can see, if you look up Make Sleep Happy Your Friend, that's me. And I started doing sleep coaching one-on-one with people and really watched people bloom, change their health. And we do short coaching. So you're talking about anywhere from 4 weeks to like 3 months of really changing your sleep. And once we start changing your sleep, we change your life. When I was working with people with CPAP, one of the things we said was once we got people good on their CPAP, we saved more marriages because the husbands slept because they weren't snoring, and the wife could sleep because the husband's not snoring anymore. And so when people aren't walking around sleep deprived, I watched students whose grades went up. I watched people who were happier and healthier. And we watched people's blood pressures go down and their memories improved. And people just found all kinds of health benefits from doing this sleep. And the more that I work with people, the more excited I become.
Now, do you work at a clinic or is this your own business?
So I do 3 different things. I work at a sleep clinic and I work for them, working with people who have had sleep studies and explain to them what their sleep studies mean. I work with a coaching agency and I coach executives on their sleep. And then I have my own business as well.
And what is the name of your business?
Better Sleep Coaching.
Better Sleep Coaching. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. So that's amazing. So take us down this journey then. The only knowledge that I have, and we'll talk offline because I'm not great at doing it at all, even though I know it. It's amazing how sometimes as human beings we learn things and we know them, but we don't implement them. I think half the battle in life is having knowledge and then implementation. But I myself, Amy, had been in treatment 5 times for an eating disorder, and we had topics. That'd be a great place for you to reach out to the treatment centers because they do discuss it. We had topics on sleep hygiene. And one of the things that was taught in our sleep hygiene group, and so I'd love for you to talk more about what you know, was the importance of turning off all electronics an hour before, at least before you sleep, with no looking at your cell phone before you go to bed and text messaging and looking at emails, turning off the TV an hour before you go to sleep, turning off the computer before you go to sleep so that your brain and your sleep can go into a state of relaxation for sleep. And so they called it sleep hygiene. And it's still so difficult because I'm on my computer so much throughout the day, and we always watch TV right until the minute we go to bed. And then I go into the bedroom and I look at my text messages and do my word games before I go to bed. So it's just so disruptive. So, Cher, that's probably the number one thing that for me, I think the whole universe, a lot of the universe struggles with, if you could address that.
So here's the thing. There's 2 reasons why you shouldn't. And the first one was like you were talking about. You need that, your body needs that break to unwind and get ready for sleep. But the other thing is that in order for our brains to produce melatonin is the hormone that allows us to transition from wake to sleep. We need exposure to dark. So the part that produces the melatonin is back here. So our eyes are attached to the occipital lobe, which is back here. And then that's attached to the thalamus and it's kind of like your brain stem type of area. And so what happens is that when you have dark, your eyes tell your brain, oh, it's dark out, it's time to start producing melatonin. That tells the thalamus, okay, it's time for me to get working. I'm producing my melatonin so you can go to sleep and slow down your brain waves and transition from wake to sleep. So if you're using your cell phone or the TV or the computer or whatever, even with those quote filters, you're not producing dark. So even with the filters, that's not dark. And you need dark to produce melatonin.
And so I'm glad you said that, because for the audience out there that have children, I see this actually within my own family members. So parents that have children that say to mom and dad, I'm afraid to go to sleep in the dark. It's scary. And so the parents let the children fall asleep with lights on or night lights in that room. Can you address that and what that does to the child's sleep patterns at an early age?
So one, that fear is normal. And so every parent goes through it. So don't think you are the only one. You are not the only one. We have all gone through that. But what you want to do is you want to use a very small night light. Like, the ones that use the little Christmas tree lights? That's what you want to use for a night light. You don't want something that's bright. You don't want something that lights up the room, because then that decreases the ability to produce that melatonin that allows them to go to sleep. The problem is that then the parent gives the kid some oral melatonin. Well, the problem with that is then the brain stops producing its own. So you take them off and then you think the kid's addicted because they're not going to sleep without the melatonin. What happens is you turned it off. So you turn the brain off from producing its own melatonin, and then you expect when you take the artificial melatonin away for them to just go to sleep. The body has to get used to not having it again and start producing it again, and that takes time. So you have this rebound between when you stop it and when they start producing it again. So you have several nights of this really poor sleep before the body starts producing it again. So
I think too, with what I see is where I hear too, and I hear and I see parents that says, "Oh, my child just won't go to sleep at night," and yet I've experienced this, where the parent actually turns on an actual nightstand light that's very bright in the room, and the child starts to assimilate that's the only way they can fall asleep, with lights on, and they sleep that way. And yet then they come back and say, it takes my child at least an hour to fall asleep. They're playing in the crib, they're playing in their room, and they just won't fall asleep, and yet the lights are on. And so it makes a lot of sense what you're saying, because if the parents continue that process of keeping the lights on in the room, their children are going to be restless, it sounds to me, because that
yeah,
melatonin is not kicking in and they think it's daytime.
exactly. Well, it's not that they think it's daytime, it's that it throws off the whole circadian rhythm, all the chemistry in the body. And so here's the thing. I work a lot with parents who are like, oh, my kid's afraid. And yes, your kid's afraid, but you have to teach them how not to be afraid. That's part of your job as a parent, is to teach your child how to self-soothe and take care of themselves. And because I get a lot of parents, oh, my child won't go to sleep because without me in the room, or they won't go to sleep unless I leave the light on, or unless I leave the TV on, or unless I leave the music on. Those are learned behaviors. Mm-hmm. So just exactly. As easily you can stop the learned behavior. But here's the thing, you're not going to get it to stop in one day. You're going to go through a bad period while you're transitioning from this bad behavior to good behavior. The thing is that children are, the younger they are, the more adaptable they are. And so if you take the time, it will happen faster.
So well, and again, children are teachable. And so parents' jobs are to protect, teach, and help their children to transition in life. And so if the parents take the time to sit down, and there's two ways that I can see this happening, sit down and teach the children about the brain. Like sit down. The kids are really smart. Let's get a book. I mean, that'd be a great authored book for you to write a children's book about what the brain is and how the brain works for sleep. A sleep book for children. But to sit down and just explain this is what the brain does, and this is where the part of your brain goes, turns off or does this and produces a thing called melatonin to help you sleep. And in order for the brain to be healthy, which we need our brains to be healthy, boys and girls, we need to have a quiet time, and we need lights off so that you can sleep restfully so your body will grow. So there's so many different ways a parent can do it. Another way that I actually witnessed this with my own son when he was small. He refused to sleep in his own room because he said he was afraid of the witches that would fly around in his room at night. And he says, there's witches in my room. And, the atypical parents are going to say, oh, there's no witches. I assure you there's no. So I learned years and years and years ago a technique of art therapy. And so if you keep large pieces of white paper around in crayons and your child's fearful, it's so important just to say, can you sit at the table and draw a picture of what you're afraid of? And the best way that this works is never as a parent to analyze it, never. Let them draw, and even if they're 2 years old, just say, take the crayons and draw what you're scared of. And they'll just draw lines and colors or whatever. Then after they're done drawing, just say, can you tell me what this is? And point to things. Can you tell me what this is? What does this show you? And I did that with my son, and he drew these squares on the page. And I said, what's that? And he says, that's my bed. I says, what's that? And he pointed to the heating vent on the floor. I says, what's that? He goes, that's the window. And I said, what's that? And he says, those are the curtains, and that's where the witches are flying. I see the witches when the lights are off. And what it was the heating vent blowing the air in his room. And so I just very calmly said, you know what? I have a way to get rid of witches. Let me see if I can go in your room, and I'll go figure out if I can get rid of the witches tonight. So we went in the room, and I said, look around. Are the witches here? And he goes, no, they're gone. I said, I got rid of them. And I just closed the heating vent. It was as simple as that.
So the other thing is that if you don't give your child a really strong sleep routine, like if you start doing the same thing over and over again, if you think of your brain like a computer, if you ever watch your computer shut down, it always does the same thing before it shuts down. It closes this program, it closes that program, it runs this thing, and then it closes down. We need to do the same thing for ourselves as well as our children. We need nighttime routines. So that tells the brain, oh, it's time to get quiet and time to go to bed. And so it will start preparing for bed. But if your sleep routine is that, oh, they watch TV for 2 hours beforehand, that's really not a routine. That's not something that really prepares them for bed. So I always start my clients with a 20-minute routine. You can do anything for 20 minutes. And that includes brushing your teeth and washing your face. And if you're a woman, we have to do the thing with our face because, we don't want to look old. So you put that as part of your routine and you get in your pajamas, and then we start looking at what kind of things can we add to your routine that are nice, quiet, and happy activities for you. I have one client and her daughter who sit and they meditate with audio meditations for 5 minutes. So it's not a long time. They just listen to it and they breathe. And when you're breathing, you're increasing your oxygen levels. Mm-hmm. And that helps to dilate the blood vessels and slow down your heart rate and slow down your blood pressure, again, helping you get ready for bed. I have some people who like to take their shower right before bed, and that also helps you to sleep because the change from the warm to the cool helps your body temperature to drop because your body temperature drops when you sleep. So there are all kinds of different things you can add to your routine, but I always start with 20 minutes. And if they're resistant to 20 minutes, then we start with 10 minutes. And
what about reading books before bed?
That's fine, but it has to be We're not talking about textbooks. We're not talking about horror stories, because horror stories are just going to bring nightmares, and nobody wants that. Well, at least for your children. For you, you can decide what you want to
And you
read.
don't
But
want to read and you don't want to read on a tablet because you're putting that
right,
blue light back into your brain before that light again. So sitting
right.
and reading a bedtime story, and if you doing your prayers, just getting the children in a routine that we go
But
upstairs.
even you,
Yeah, even yourself.
you need to look at yourself,
Hmm.
because most parents will create most parents will create a bedtime ritual for their children. Most adults forget that they need to do the same thing for themselves. Your body hasn't changed that much that you don't need this ritual. The other thing is that it's a don't do as I say, do as I do, rather than do this. I don't have to do it because I'm an adult, but you have to do it because you're a child, especially when they start to get to be preteens and teenagers, and you're saying, well, you need to do this, but I don't need to do this. They're going to push back. But if they see you doing this and you're modeling the behavior that you're expecting from them, they're more likely to follow through with it.
So let's transition on time to go to bed, because this one is a big one for, I think, a lot of adults. And what I heard, again, when I was in treatment, that your sleep time should stay the same within 1 hour, no longer than 1 hour, even on weekends. So even if you were to go out till 2 in the morning on a Friday night, you don't want your body to get used to then sleeping until noon on Saturday and then try to go back to waking up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning on Monday. So can you talk about the
So,
normalization for sleep times?
so just like your computer, your brain likes routines. And so we're again talking about your brain does, like your person knows the difference between weekdays and weekends, but your brain does not know the difference between weekdays and weekends. So choose a bedtime that's best for you. Choose a wake up time that's best for you. Make sure that you're getting between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. Getting less than 7 or more than 9 are both not healthy for you. People who sleep too much have health issues. People who are sleep deprived have health issues. So we want to keep you in that 7 to 9. Um, the idea that people are short sleepers, oh, I'm a short sleeper, that's not true. It's most likely that what you're doing is you're walking around in a perpetual state of sleep deprivation, and you think it's normal just because you've been doing it for so long. Doesn't mean you're working optimally, because the brain works optimally when you sleep enough. So as an adult, we need 7 to 9. Our teenagers need anywhere from 8 to 10. Now, with teenagers, remember that when they're growing, they're going to need more sleep than when their body's not growing. And then our children need the teenagers need 8 to 10. Our children need between 9 and 12. Because again, when they're growing, they need more sleep. During sleep is when they actually physically grow. That's when they produce growth hormone. That's where you take your short-term memories and put them into long-term memories. That's where the body heals. So you know how when you're sick, you always want to sleep more? That's because that's where your body heals. That's where you produce the things, the hormones that your body needs to heal itself. So being short on sleep is always an issue. And it's especially bad because most adults will say, oh, I'm the short sleeper, when they're not. They're just walking around tired. And then when they finally do get the amount of sleep that they need, they start to realize that they feel better, their memory improves, their health improves. Then they're like, oh yeah, really, it does matter. But in the beginning, people don't think that.
And what about nap time? So let's talk about nap time for adults and then nap time for children. So nap time for an adult, and adults, running on
Should be
empty.
20 minutes or less.
That's what I've always heard, like to just go into a
So
20
the
minute and then
reason
wake up.
the reason for that is you don't want to go into REM sleep. REM sleep is where you dream. So as soon as you go into REM sleep, when you wake up out of that, you're going to feel more tired, more fatigued. It's harder to wake up from REM than it is to regular sleep. What that 20 minutes of sleep does is it really, think of it as you have an inbox in your brain and all your short-term memories go into this inbox, right? So you take that 20 minutes and what it does is it rejuvenates your brain enough that you're emptying that inbox.
Just doing power naps, the
Yeah.
technology.
20-minute power nap.
Do a 20-minute power and set your alarm so that you wake up in 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what about children? From what age to what age do you feel if the parents are doing what you said and getting that child like from, and I'm not talking infants because infants sleep. You're talking about maybe say what about a 1 to 2-year-old up to junior high?
Okay, so here's the thing about naps. Most children outgrow the naps at around 3 years old. However, here's the thing. So let's say you have a child who's in middle school or high school. They're just not getting enough sleep because they have all this homework, and then they try to relax, and then they have to sleep, and then they have to get up early to make the bus. So they go, and they're just not getting enough sleep. Let them have that afternoon power nap. Again, 20 minutes just to recharge. And the same for teenagers. Now, teenagers especially go through these waxing and waning periods where they're like, do I need that? They're so tired. That's when they're growing. Their bodies are changing. Their hormones are all flux. If they're saying they need this sleep, most likely it's their body telling them, because teenagers don't want to sleep. Teenagers want to be out with their friends, talking to their friends, and be on social media. If they're telling you they're that tired, then they're that tired.
Well, there's two reasons they're going to be tired. Their body's exhausted or they're experiencing some depression. And then you have to
I'm not discounting depression, but a lot of times it's that they're sleep deprived is really what we're having. With so many high schools start at 7, the kids have to get up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, that these high school kids are just not getting enough sleep.
And they're staying up till midnight or 1 doing homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, or playing video games or something, that they're staying up late and they're not disciplined to say, hey, I got to be in bed by like 10 o'clock tonight.
Well, they also have an internal clock that shifts. Kind of when you're in your teenage years, it's harder to go to sleep at 10, 11 o'clock. They're more inclined to want to go to sleep somewhere between 12 and 1. That's a shift, a physiological shift that happens in the brain that then goes back to that 10, 11 as their hormones come down. So some of it is physiological also. So you have to fight not only their physiological drive to want to be up at night, but also their drive to be social. Because a lot of times when they're on the video games, it's not just about the game, it's about the socialization that they're having with the people on the games.
So to make that shift, so I know there's people who have health issues on this call. So depending on that health issue, for me, I'll just talk personally with you. So mine is my health issues are what's the word I'm looking for? Are not health because I'm unhealthy. They're from a car accident. Mine are actual what's the word I'm looking for?
You have injuries and pain issues.
Yeah, injuries and pain issues not related to health. So I had a severe car accident that left me disabled. And so at nighttime, throughout the day, the pain exasperates. And in order for me to go to sleep, I mean, it is a horrific routine of taking a roller and rolling out my tissue and taking a handheld massager and massaging. So the handheld massager and the rollers could take me up to an hour just to calm my nerve endings down because they're so damaged from the accident. And then I lay in bed and I'm just desperately trying to fall asleep. When I finally fall asleep, I sleep for maybe 2 hours before the pain in my back and my legs start throbbing again. And it wakes me up and I have to get up and do the same thing over, use the handheld. So I mean, I'm going on years of this now, 9 years of this chronic pain syndrome. And I've tried everything from hemp oil to hot baths, everything you can imagine. But mine's, they put my hip in 2 inches over. So instead of my hip being like this, it sits like this and it's pulling on my spine. So when I'm laying in bed trying to get comfortable, even with hip pillows, the pain is just terrific. So I cannot sleep for the life of me. And so what I feel like it's doing is physiologically what you said. It's putting me into this horrible routine of not being able to fall asleep before 1 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably by 9ish, sometimes 10 in the morning, I just can't handle the up and down anymore. So I just say, I'm up for the day now. And then I get up between anywhere from 8:30 till 10:30 in the morning just because I'm so tired of the up and down.
So somebody like you, I would actually tell you to go speak to a sleep specialist, because there may be other issues, there may be health issues, and there may be other options for you that they need to look at. Um, People who have medical conditions really need to work with doctors, and some doctors will consider sleep and some won't. And I always recommend that you look for like a functional medicine doctor. Those are usually the best to deal with because they look at the whole person and they understand that you function as a person and not just look at this condition or that condition.
Yeah.
But I can't fix pain. What I can tell you is that if you, after 30 minutes, do not fall asleep, the best thing you should do is get out of bed, do your bedtime routine, and then go back to bed.
So
Because then,
redo something to see if it can calm you down.
right. So let's say you have insomnia for whatever reason, that not pain related, but you had insomnia. If you stay and you sit there and you stare at the ceiling and you're like, oh, I just wish I could go to sleep. The more you do that, the more you produce cortisol. And cortisol is that fight or flight hormone. And that stresses you out. And so you're not going to go to sleep. And then you're not going to go to sleep because you have this cortisol. And then you produce more cortisol, so you're not going to fall asleep, and it becomes a vicious cycle. If after about 30 minutes you find, oh, I'm not falling asleep, 30, 40 minutes, get out of bed. You should have this 20-minute sleep routine anyway, without the washing the face. Do whatever it is you do. Read for 15 minutes, do some meditation, do some breathing exercises, do some yoga stretches, whatever makes you happy, and then go back to bed again. And you may have to do that 2 or 3 times, but what you'll find is that if you start doing it on a regular basis, your brain is going to start push that routine means bedtime. And you never do it in bed. There's only 2 activities you ever do in bed. And one of them is sleep. And we don't talk about the other one because that's between you and whoever. But you never read in bed. You never watch TV in bed. You never do any of that because you want your brain to associate bed with sleep. Sleep, bed, that's it.
Good
Does
stuff.
that make sense?
Yep, good stuff. Good stuff. And what about that cell phone? That cell phone that you put on your bed, on your nightstand.
There's only
And
one solution for the bed, the cell phone, okay? I know your alarm is on your cell phone. I know that your kids are out tonight and you have to have that cell phone. Okay, I am not taking that cell phone out of your room. You're going to take that cell phone, you're going to put it, there should be you have a dresser, you have you have something across the room, on the other side of the room. Everybody has one, unless you have a bed and 4 walls, there is something on the other side of the room. You're going to take it, put it face down, put it on the other side of the room. That way, the only time you're going to touch it, you're going to have to physically get out of bed to go get it.
yep, that's a good plan.
Better for you for the alarm, because then you have to physically go get the alarm.
That's a great plan. That's a good one. That's definitely a good one. So is there any other tips that you'd like to share with us on this topic that we haven't addressed yet?
So your morning routine is as important as your nighttime routine. Okay. So a lot of people don't realize that what you do in the morning affects your sleep at night. And especially with COVID, okay, we now work from home. We now don't go out and socialize. We don't go outside for things that we used to go outside for. We don't commute. So here's the thing. You need sunlight to set your circadian rhythm. So when you get up in the morning, one of the things you need to do is go outside, get some sun, 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, go take your coffee, sit outside, get some sun, get some fresh air. I'm not telling you to exercise. I'm not telling you you need to change your whole lifestyle. I'm just saying get some sunlight. Don't just roll out of bed and sit in front of your computer and start working. You can't do that. You need to get some fresh air, a little sunshine to set, and sunlight through a window is not the same thing as getting outside and getting sun. So take those minutes. And if you live in an apartment, go take a short walk around the block. It doesn't have to be a fast walk. Go adopt a dog.
So even do this before you shower? Are you saying
Doesn't
even
matter.
doesn't matter? Just sometime in the morning,
Like in the morning as part of your morning routine,
just to
we
make
get
it.
up, we shower, we get dressed, we get our coffee, then go take a walk around the block.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you have a patio, go sit outside barefoot and ground yourself in the grass. And just something just to ground yourself and wake up. When I went to Aruba in November last year, Amy, and I do see, when you were saying go see a functional, I mean, I see, can't tell you how many holistic doctors I see. I see a chiropractor, I see an osteopath, I see a myofascial release massage therapist, and you name it, I see them all. And so my one naturopath that I saw before I went to Aruba, he said, Jill, when you get to Aruba, he goes, make yourself wake up right before the sun rises. Go outside and sit in the sand with your feet in the sand and stare at the sun as it rises. And if you can do the same as the sun goes down, it will give you all of the vitamin D your body needs for the day. It says it's amazing. So I am not, Amy, I am not a morning person at all since I retired. When I worked, I had to be. But I retired in 2015 because of disability, actually, from my car accident. And so my sleep cycle all went back to I'm going to say they went back to my cocaine days, because I'm a recovered cocaine addict. And when I was doing cocaine, I would go for 3-4 days with no sleep and no food and just drugs. So my body almost reset itself, like I was a cocaine addict again, staying up until 1 or 2 in the morning and then sleeping until like 8 or 9. So when I got to Aruba, the thought of what my doctor said about getting up at 6:15 in the morning to go ground myself, I was like, yeah, right. But the first night there, I went to sleep, and it was like my brain said, this is good for you. You can do it. And my husband was sound asleep, and automatically, without setting an alarm, my brain woke me up at 6:15, put my bathing suit on, walked out onto the beach, brought my Bose speaker with my morning meditation, and I just sat out there peacefully watching the sun rise every morning. And I'm telling you, I was a changed human being after 6 days. I was like blown away how good I felt. Blown away. So I really believe what you're saying really makes a difference.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You need that sunlight, and we don't realize how much we need it until we don't get it.
Yeah.
And with COVID, a lot of people aren't going out. I mean, they're literally, it's hard to force yourself to like sit outside and take time. And people are becoming more and more workaholics because there's no line between work and home.
Yeah. And then they can't understand why they feel so depressed and anxious, because it's like, and the one thing that I have been allowing myself to do, I only miss it maybe once, maybe twice a week, is when I schedule my interviews, like with you today and with other things in my life that I'm scheduling, I I look at the clock and I'll go, I don't care. I need to stop right now and do 2 hours at the pool. And I'll pause, turn off my cell, and I'm going to the pool because with my accident, I can't stand for more than 5 minutes and I cannot walk more than 2 blocks because of the severity of my accident. So the only exercise my body gets all day long is in the water because I could do 500 running, steps in the water, and I could do like 500 sit-ups and kickboxing, and I can't do anything on land. So I make myself go in the water, and I'm telling you, for 2 to 3 hours for that part of the day, I feel like I died and went to heaven. I feel so good. It makes a huge difference for my body.
So that's always good. Is moving around is important. Getting that sunlight, the fresh air is always important.
Great. Well, what I'd love to do now is just show the audience Amy's bio, and that way you know how to reach out to her. This will be on my YouTube channel as well, so that you know how to find Amy. And Amy, just a quick question with Zooms and stuff now today and being able to connect over video conferencing. Do you see people on video conferencing right now with your sleep coaching?
Yes, all my clients are via video conference.
Okay, so someone out of state can definitely reach out to you and counsel with you for sleep stuff.
Absolutely. I have people all over the world.
And then are you able to write orders or do anything like
Yeah.
that? No, so that if they need sleep studies, you recommend who they go see in their local area if they need to have like a sleep test done. You'll give
I
them
always send
ideas.
them back to their primary care doctor. Your primary care doctor has to order it.
Okay.
So it always goes back to the primary care doctor. I can't order it. I can tell you that you're dealing with something that you need to talk to your doctor about, but I can't order a sleep study. The only thing I can do is if you have a CPAP and you're having problems and you need to talk through how to get used to it and acclimate to it and start using it properly, that I will help people with as well. But I can't order anything. I can't order masks. I can't order anything.
Are you able, if a person does a sleep study and they get a printout of it, are they able to scan it where you could talk to them about the results?
I can absolutely explain the results to them, but then they would still need to follow up with their doctor to get whatever other testing or treatment that they needed.
How about, I went to my dentist for my cleaning the other day, and they fit people for the sleep devices, the mouth sleep devices that go in your mouth. What are those like, and do you recommend them? Are they effective?
So oral appliances, it depends who you talk to. If you talk to a dentist, to everybody, they say it fixes everybody. Here's the deal with oral appliances. If you have sleep apnea, the gold standard of treatment still is a CPAP. However, not everybody can wear a CPAP. Just like there are medications people can't take and there are things people can't tolerate, not everybody can wear a CPAP. Oral appliances work for people who have specific areas that cause their sleep apnea. They have an oversized tongue, they have problems in the upper back of their throat. And so the oral appliances do work. However, I cannot look at you and say, work on you, and it won't work on you. And some insurances pay for them and some don't. And a lot of doctors charge between $3,000 and $5,000 for them.
Yeah. And so you can go ahead and spend that money and then find out it's not working.
Correct.
And then you're out that money.
But then with some people, they work beautifully.
So you have seen good results with them.
Yeah, usually with people with mild sleep apnea and who have issues with their mouth being too crowded.
Okay. So that's just something I was wondering because I use like a mouth guard at night so I don't grind my teeth. And so I saw the picture on the screen.
So these are similar to those. These are a little bit different. in that they take the jaw, and they pull it forward a little bit. So there are drawbacks to them too. They can change your bite, and they can also cause TMJ for some people.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been very educational, and it's just been a pleasure for the audience to get to know you more, Amy. So we'll definitely have your information. And if any of you guys would love to talk to Amy more and do a sleep study, please reach out to her. For the audience, thanks so much for joining the Connection Show. And if you're a leader who would love to share a little bit about what you do and who you are, please go to our website, which is braveheartworkshops.com. Fill out the contact sheet, and I'll connect with you to schedule a time for our show. For the audience, you guys are so important to us, and so we've added to our Connection profile the Connection Gathering Tribe Zoom meetings every Wednesday night. It's an opportunity for you to join in, connect with other amazing leaders. Amy was on last week, and she led us in an amazing exercise called mind mapping, and it was very, very informative. So our leaders sometimes jump on with the show and connect with you, and you get to know them better. So please, again, go to my website, click on podcast in the Zoom tab so that you know how to link in. You do need to give us your email in order for me to send you the password to join that group. So, Amy, you have a wonderful day, and it's such a pleasure to get to know you more.
You too. Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye now. Thanks for joining us on The Connection Show. Let's connect now. We can dream together to renew, restore, and reconnect with wellness in our life and community. To enhance connection, join us in the Zoom Connection Gathering Tribe on Wednesday evenings. The Zoom Connection Gathering Tribe is an easy and practical way for everyone to meet up, gather, and feel welcomed and accepted. To join us, go to braveheartworkshops.com. Then click on the podcast tab and the Zoom Connection Tribe tab. On that page, go to the Facebook page called The Connection Show Gathering Tribe and register to join our Facebook group. We post secure passwords each week in the group so you can log in safely. We meet on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for 1.5 hours with great topics, laughter, and connection. See you on Wednesday evenings. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.